What's going on, guys? It's your boy Spudzie here, and today I have a super fun open world build for you featuring the Renegade. This build is called Power Bombardment, but honestly that title doesn't do it enough justice. The build is very good at surviving dense packs of mobs with all of its lifesteal and AoE effects. It also manages to maintain 100% uptime on Fury and 25 stacks of might on itself, making it an absolute force in the open world. You'll want to use this build for when you're trying to farm events for any type of currency and there just aren't any groups available, whether it's because of a bad map or just an odd time of day. Personally, I've been using this build to help me farm Mistborn keys and Dragonfall whenever I have some downtime so that when the next meta rolls around, I'll have all the keys I need for those nice chests. Before we discuss how to play the build, let's go ahead and jump into the gear and traits just so we have an idea of what we're working with. For the traits, we're going to be running Invocation, Devastation, and Renegade. Invocation will allow us to gain Fury at a very quick rate, which in turn grants us 100% critical chance and even more might. The Grandmaster trait in Invocation is a bit of a wild card, so feel free to experiment with it a little as all three traits can be utilized in one way or another. I take Song in the Mist so that I have access to quickness when swapping legend stances. Charged Mist is great if you find yourself running out of energy. It'll grant you a nice boost for when you're starting out. Moving on, Devastation. This is where all of our lifesteal comes from, as well as damage increases. Notoriety will make it so that our 25 stacks of might will be even more effective, seeing as how they will grant us much more power damage as opposed to condition damage. Dance of Death is a fantastic Grandmaster trait and will be a large source of our consistent healing. If you find yourself needing a bit more life gain, go ahead and take Thrill of Combat instead, as they'll grant you more lifesteal stacks. The traits in the Renegade trait line will allow us to stack up Callous Fervor quickly, a powerful Renegade buff that grants us might, increased damage, as well as lifesteal damage. We will be applying tons of vulnerability, not just for Callous Fervor, but for Dance of Death as well. So the synergy here works out very nicely. All for One will grant us protection whenever we use our Call abilities, and finally, our Grandmaster trait is Vindication. This trait makes it so that our might generation is through the roof and we're able to pull more missiles through with bombardment. Moving on to our gear. We run 4 pieces of Berserkers and 2 pieces of Marauders with Berserkers accessories. We run Strength runes to increase our damage output as well as make our 25 might stacks even more potent. Weapons are dual swords and a staff. The swords utilize dragon stats with a superior sigil of draining and a superior sigil of rending. The easiest way to access dragon stats is to just pick up a salt spray sword in the trading post. These sigils are massive when it comes to the overall survivability of this build. You'll be gaining life and applying vulnerability each time you interrupt an enemy. Luckily for us, our boy Dark Razor in Call Stance does just that. When placed, Dark Razor will last for 6 seconds, granting us protection while interrupting 5 targets in the area. You'll find that while Dark Razor is up and hitting enemies, you'll be very close to full health in many circumstances. Do note that Sword 4 is a massive ability in this kit, as it will do a nice amount of damage as well as applying 8 stacks of vulnerability, making this a very nice tool if you need to heal and deal some nice damage. Now let's go ahead and discuss how you should look to play this build. As stated previously, you're going to want to use this build for open world events and farms that deal with lots of mobs. Ideally, you'd want to group them all together, drop Dark Razor and Ice Razor on top of them so that interrupts, protection, and vulnerability are all going out, which in turn stacks up your Callous Fervor, Lifesteal, Fury, and Might. Go ahead and swap over to Shiro and pop the Bombardment. You can use impossible odds before doing this, but do note that it will drain your energy heavily. When that's done, most of, if not all of the mobs should be dead or close to. Just finish off the remaining with your swords and legend abilities. Well, that's pretty much it. You now know how to farm those events quickly while bombarding your enemies from the mists. While I wouldn't recommend this build for farming champs or anything like that, that's not to say that it can't. It would just take a pretty long time. I have a separate video for that coming soon. Let me know if you like this build, if you like this kind of videos, and if you want more in the future. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.